countdown on the screen. Hey, we are live. Steve Moneypenny here with The Practical Shooter, and tonight I have with me Scott Rowe. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Pleasure to be here.
This is the first one I've actually done straight out live where I was the broadcaster, so hopefully everything works out well. My internet should be up to speed, and I think I've killed all the background noise. I do not know how comments are going to work on this because I have just a little bit of my iPad battery left, and I've been told that there's no good way to see the comments and stuff through StreamYard. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, it doesn't tell me if we have any guests or anything here yet. We'll go ahead and get this started. This will also go out through our RSS feed into the podcast. So you'll be able to catch it on Apple, Stitcher, about 15 other places that I clicked. And should be able to get populated out that way and pretty much be there forever unless it's deleted. So Scott, just tell us about yourself, how you got into shooting, all that stuff. What do you want the world to know about Scott Rowe?
Sure. All right. Well, I mean, taking it back to the beginning, I was born on an Army base, Fort Leonard, Missouri. My dad was in the Army. Grew up in Springfield, Missouri. Again, being from the Midwest, I grew up hunting and fishing, just like most everybody that comes from that area. Did all my schooling there, moved to Florida for about 12 years. My job transferred me to Arizona, and I've been here for about the last 22 years now. As far as shooting goes, like I said, I've always hunted, but it was always with rifles, shotguns, that sort of thing. But then I thought, I want to get a pistol, just home protection, just to maybe just round out my knowledge a little more. So my first pistol I ever got was a G23 Gen 4. And unfortunately, I bought it just based off of a few things. One, everybody says Glock's the way to go. So it's like, okay, Glock. Everyone said, 40 cal, because it's the reliability of a 9 and the stopping power of a 45. So I said, okay. And that's what I got. And just side note, that gun is no longer with me. Got rid of it. But I wanted to be as responsible of a gun owner as I could. So what I did is I went to my local range here, C2 Tactical, and just went out there and I was a little intimidated at first, but I just went out and I said, you know what, I got to get used to this. I want to make sure that I'm responsible with it, that I know how to use it properly and safely. And it turns out, as I found almost from day one until current, the shooting community is amazing. Everybody is so friendly, so nice. I got so much help there that I just kept going back. And I got my CCW license again to just be a more informed and more responsible shooter. But almost from the get-go, I was just hooked. I loved going to the range. I loved shooting. And that's basically where it started.
So the funny thing is I pretty much started out with Glocks too. I started out with a 357 SIG. You got to love a lot of recoil and a very nice lightweight platform with a good heavy trigger. Really helps you humble yourself.
Oh, it does.
So you've pretty much been shooting all your life. How long have you been competitively shooting?
Competitively shooting now about 3 years. Again, it started off at my local range, C2 Tactical. They do just a Wednesday night type of a shoot. It's set up, if you could call it close to anything, I guess it would be considered closer to IDPA since it's really time plus. And I started shooting there and I loved it. Core group of guys and girls that were always there. It was great shooting with them. And, I decided I think I want to try a little bit more. So the first thing I went for is steel because I'd never shot steel before. And all the YouTube videos I'd seen, it looked amazing, hearing all the plinking and seeing plates fly. So I went to, my range now that I belong to, Phoenix Rod and Gun Club, and just started shooting the Thursday night steel matches. And it was great. And then I said, I think I want to take this further. So then I started to shoot USPSA, and USPSA led into some 3-gun shooting, and then that led into IDPA.
Awesome. So you said you're from Arizona. What part of Arizona are you from?
I live in Tempe.
Oh, you're kind of in the Mecca part of Arizona where you get to shoot like every day that you want,
Every day. That,
all year, all
I,
winter.
it's just dumb luck, but I mean, I'm here in Area 2. We've got some of the best shooters around. Real Sportsman Club hosts the Area 2 match, and I'm just lucky that I get to live here where the weather is great to shoot all year round. Yes, in the summer, we're talking 115 plus, but we wear cooling vests, bring lots of water, hydrate a lot, so it's not too bad, and it's definitely worth it to be able to shoot year round, which I do.
That's awesome. So what do you do for a day job that lets you afford to shoot?
Well, my today job, I've been with my company now for about 24 years. They're a recruiting company, and I'm a business development executive for them. So we put contractors and consultants to work with pretty much you name it, any company, whether it's private, medical, government, you name it.
Cool. So you're like the ultimate HR guy then.
Not HR, sales. I'm
there
sales.
You go. You sell the human resources.
Well, I sell to managers, directors, and the bad two letters, HR, when I have to.
Mm-hmm. So you said you started off with a Glock. What are you shooting now?
So I'm primarily a SIG guy. I do have some CZs I shoot in Uspsa. I shoot carry optics and open. So for my carry optics gun, I'm shooting a SIG P320 X5 Legion. Not stock. I changed out a lot, of course. I put in Apex. I mean, I don't know anybody that keeps their same ones, right? So yeah, I put in a Apex flat forward set kit on it. I put a Romeo 3 XL 6 MOA dot on it. I've got a Springer Precision extended mag release, Go Guns gas pedal. And actually, I was shooting it so much I wore the stippling smooth. So rather than get it restippled, I had a friend that did silicon carbide treatments, and I got that done. And I've had that gun silicon carbide treated for over a year now, and it still looks fantastic. So
yeah, when you get good silicon carbide on there, it is killer.
It's amazing
for sure.
Yeah. And then my open gun, I shoot more carry optics than I do open. I'll be changing it up soon, but as of right now, I'm shooting a CZ Checkmate Parrot.
That's awesome. I think there should be more Checkmates out there. They're an amazing gun at a great price point, and I don't know. I've shot quite a few different open guns, and the Checkmate just seems like it was made to shoot 9. Obviously, so.
I'm telling you, for somebody that's looking to just kind of, like I did, just kind of dip your foot into the open waters without breaking the bank. I mean, lots of people shoot the SPO1, the Shadow 2, in both IDPA and USPSA. So, once I heard about the Checkmate, it's like, man, this is easy. It's 9 major, so you don't have to worry about picking up all your shells that 38 Super Comp guys do. And it's just, whoa, bless you.
Excuse me.
But yeah, it's just a great gun to start shooting open with, and I love it.
So where you guys are in perpetual summer out there, we have hit like our first week of actual spring here in West Virginia. So I've been spending the days outside, cleaning the sticks up from the yard, busted up some new rock today for a place we're going to be putting a lawnmower. So yeah, allergies are killing me, so I do apologize for that.
Not a problem.
It's great to see things starting to turn green, though. You probably won't notice that out there, but
we just get different shades of brown. But I will say that during the springtime when the desert flowers bloom, that's pretty nice.
Oh yeah,
that's nice. But for the most part, if you're flying in here, you just see different shades of brown.
So. Are you primarily shooting USPSA now? Or are you flipping back and forth between USPSA and IDPA? Or
yeah, I shoot both a lot. It's funny because a lot of guys that I talk to, a lot of people I talk to, are very adamant either one sport or the other. They're either USPSA and they don't want to mess with IDPA or vice versa. And I mean, I can understand the reasonings. They give valid reasons. To me, I look at it as a couple of things. With USPSA teaches me how to stage plan, get better at that. It teaches me how to just move faster. Everything is faster. IDPA helps me and teaches me with accuracy, because accuracy counts in IDPA because it's time plus. And it helps with some of my fundamentals as well. You're always mag changing in there. So I look at it as I just kind of combine the two sports together, and then I can bring some over from one and some over from the other. And I think honestly that my overall shooting has improved because I've blended the two. And then thirdly, it's shooting. I mean, I get to shoot.
Shooting is shooting. It's the same gun, mostly the same gear.
Yeah.
I've always shot both, and everybody's like, well, how can you go back and forth? I'm like, it's just shooting a gun. I mean, JJ Ricazza does it.
Yeah.
Rob Latham did it for years. It doesn't really matter where you come from. Shooting is shooting.
Yeah.
So I love them both. Have you paid attention a lot to the rule book changes coming up in IDPA?
Yes, I did. And I will be taking advantage of a couple of them. There's two rules. Actually, there's three in particular that I really like. One of them having to do now with before, if you were going to do a mag change, for you to allow the magazine to drop on the ground, the magazine has to be empty and your gun has to be in slide lock. Now you can do a tack reload, of course, but I'm saying if you want to just fly on the move, you've got to be in slide lock. Now you can drop your magazine with one still in the chamber. So again, as I'm sure you're aware, I've lost or come in, a second, third, fourth, or whatever by fractions of a second. Yeah. So if I'm able to save a fraction of a second, not having to drop my slide, that works for me. The other two rules that I like is the new appendix carry. So they're going to allow you to appendix carry. My EDC, I have a SIG P365 XL, and to me, how do you ever get to have actual as close to real practical experience with your EDC? And this is going to allow that. So come June 1st, I'm really looking forward to trying that. Just for the local matches. For the majors, I'll still stick with I shoot the P320 Max for my IDPA. And then the third thing on that, again, that comes to that is they're allowing now for a like slight drop holster, which I don't care so much about the drop like in USPSA, but what I like is that I can actually have it a little further out from my side, because being a bigger guy, for me to draw an IDPA, I have to kind of lean a little bit to where this, I'll be able to just index it and go.
Yeah. See, I have a short torso and long arms. I'm 6'3", and I have a wingspan about 2 inches longer than my height, which is great if you're doing boxing and mixed martial arts. Not so great drawing a gun from your belt level. So I will be taking absolute advantage of the dropped and offset part. Not so much the offset. I mean, I'm a little chubby too. I got plenty of space to offset my gun there. But the dropped part, I will love a lot. I may have to get a little bit longer vest because it's still got to be covered. But yeah, so I'm really liking the new rule changes. And I think things for both of our sports right now are going in a great direction. So
I agree. And I tell you, speaking of rule changes, one I'd love to see in USPSA, because I've honestly never understood why, but I would love in carry optics for magwells to be allowed. I don't honestly understand why they're not. I don't mind, but if I had the option, I'd love to keep mine on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when SIG put out the gun and stuff, I'm like, oh, that's great. We got a magwell we can't use.
Right.
But, at the same time, I kind of see where a lot of things have went. I'm not advocating for any changes immediately, but it just seems, for instance, if you buy a Glock Gen 5, built-in magwell, we can't get rid of it.
Right.
320, it's got a pretty generous hole, but it's still not a built-in magwell. There's a lot of little things like that didn't make a whole lot of sense that I think might get sorted out in the future. I don't know. But the biggest thing I see with carry optics is right now everybody is going crazy for single action. And it's like 10 or 15 guys maybe on the internet. But I do see a lot of those guns getting sold because I've started looking at the sales numbers of guns and stuff like that. SIG just come out with another one, a P226 single action only. So there's a lot of guns out there that are kind of not having a place to fit. And I can see the board going that way in the future. Of course, I am running for, which direction is it here, for president. I moved the banners around a little bit when I got the multi-gun banner. But it's one vote on the board. And honestly, right now, the way USPSA is going, I'd like to see things just be solid for a couple of years. Say, these are our divisions. And then if something needs changed, maybe say be a little bit reactive to that instead of proactive like we were with the flashlights and stuff like that.
Sure.
But IDPA is allowing flashlights now.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
My production gun actually has a flashlight on it because our local police department, our sheriff's department, issues guns and they put flashlights on them. They're a P320, not an X5, but they have the 20-round magazines with them. Most of them have a very similar light to the one I carry on it. So I just grabbed one of the holsters that they have so that if I train any of those guys or I work with them, we have exactly the same gear. So right before all that whole flashlight thing went, I got the flashlight and ordered one. So it's like, boom, USPSA drops a flashlight rule. My carry holster shows up and I'm like, I did not plan this. But the flashlights still have to meet the weight restriction in IDPA, which where I shoot a standard X5, so it's not a heavyweight gun. Sure. The 2.5 ounces of flashlight still going to put me way under the weight for carry optics or for ESP. Yeah. So I don't think I could go back to SSP. I just kind of like my extended magazine release and a few little things like that too much.
Oh, me too. Me too. You know, it's funny you say that too. I heard one of the rules getting changed. I actually got I was shooting Healy, a major match out here, and I was able to shoot the match, but I failed equipment inspection because my extended mag release was a paddle style mag release from Springer.
Oh, yeah.
And now I hear they've changed it, so now that's allowed. So a little late on that, but yeah. You know, honestly, I looked at it like this. It was upsetting. It was disappointing because I was training hard for it, but I just looked at it as for what it was. It's my fault. I didn't read the rules thoroughly enough. So I don't blame anybody. I was upset with myself, but I shot the rest of the match. They were nice. Let me shoot the rest of the match since there was no danger. It was just the extended mag release. So, you know, it's just one of those things where a learning experience. Now I know that my IDPA gun is set up 100% for IDPA for sure, and I leave it alone. And my USPSA carry optics gun, same thing, and I leave it alone.
So what are your so you shoot both. What are your classifications and what divisions do you shoot? Obviously, carry optics, we've covered that. A little bit of open. What are you going to be shooting at 365 in? Are you going to shoot it in like SSP or CCP?
I'm going to shoot it in carry optics. I have the one that came with the Romeo Zero co-witness. Awesome. So, you know, I've worked with it a little bit. I shot it a few times at my local match on Wednesdays, and I'm just going to shoot it as is because this is how I carry it. The only modification I did to it is the trigger that it comes with is you know, it's a little spongy. There's a lot of take up on it. So I just swapped it out for gray guns. I didn't change the trigger pull. I want to make sure I'm staying, you know, within legal for EDC. But it doesn't have as much of take up on it and stuff like that. So, and the reset's a little better. That's about it. That's what I'll be shooting, and just in local though.
Yeah. Well, we have there's 3 or 4 of us here that have the 365s, and I don't have a dot on mine because I just don't have a dot on. I just didn't get one that took a dot. A couple of the other guys do. So it was funny. We all showed up at this indoor USPSA match, and we're shooting our carry guns, and they're looking at us, what is it with you guys and all those little pistols? I was like, well, it's wintertime, so, you know, I thought I'd see if this thing would break if I shoot the heck out of it, you know?
Yeah. So and that's what makes it even funnier, bigger guys, because I'm 6'1", go about 250, you know, and you know, you put a gun in this hand, that a little thing like that, and let me tell you something, it does look funny, but it is very comfortable to carry, you know, for in the waistband appendix. It's an all-day comfort type of gun, I think.
I'm too chubby for the appendix. It just doesn't fit me, but I do carry pretty much daily, and I picked up the 365. I am totally against micro pistols, and I picked the gun up and I shot it, and I shot like this 4-shot cloverleaf group at 10 yards. And I looked at the gun and I'm like, with the trigger reach being correct on this would be one heck of a gun. So I had a customer that it's a good friend of mine say, I just don't like the feeling of this gun. I said, well, I'll tell you what, let me put this Gray Guns trigger in it. I have one here on the shelf because I'm a dealer. And I said, if you don't like it, I'll buy the gun off of you. And he's like, well, what if I do like it? Then you buy the trigger off me. I'll sell it to you. I won't charge you an install fee, and we'll go from there. He says, well, okay, but are you going to pay me for the trigger? I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to pay you for a trigger if you didn't pay me for it. So we go out, and I put the trigger in and lubed everything up. Of course, as you know, when you put the Gray Guns trigger in, they have a how-to lube, and you add some grease and some oil, and gets much, much better feel on that trigger.
Oh yeah.
And I went out and shot it, and I'm like, that feels a lot better. I handed it to him, and he shot it. He's like, how much do I get for the trigger? And I'm like, damn it. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I kind of like it now.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, just swapping out that trigger made all the difference. And also for me, I went ahead and got the extended 15-round mag, so that now it comes just below my palm.
Fits your hand, yeah.
Yeah, so it fits my hand great, and it's it's 15+1, so you've almost got the same load as what you carry on with a full size, and and the other thing is I like guns that index well, that I can index higher on, and this has a nice beaver tail to it. I can index it well, and even though it's smaller, when I build my grip, it still feels very comfortable, and and honestly, the recoil isn't as bad as you would think. No. Even shooting factory. I tried it. I said, let me just run some factory through it. So I ran 115, I ran 124. Snappy, of course, you expect it with a smaller gun like that, but not terrible. So I'm just going to run my loads out of it now, and it should probably run even flatter.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that little gun. Not all little guns, but that one. I also put one of those little Hogue, the handle that they make for the 365. I put one of those on mine, and it fills my hand just enough to be comfortable.
There you go.
So what are your goals this year in competitive shooting?
Well, honestly, I've been in competitive sports my whole life. I mean, I literally was in my first swim meet when I was 6 years old. So I've grown up playing sports my whole life. And my dad always told me, it doesn't make a difference what you do, just try to be the best at it. So that's what I'm trying to apply here. And I'm just going out there and I'm doing everything I can to just become a better shooter. I try to take ego out of it as best I can. And I tell all the guys I shoot with and girls I shoot with, that's who I know are better shooters than I am. It's like, hey, if you can give me any pointers, help me out. So I want to get better at stage planning. I want to get a little faster with my shots. Just overall improve, just be a better shooter. If you're telling me where do I want to be, I mean, I went from my first IDPA match, or a major match that I won, was the New Mexico State IDPA Championships as a carry optics marksman. They bumped me up to SS sharpshooter. So I shot Arizona State IDPA Championships this year. Took second in that. It was close. And then same thing with USPSA. I won Area 2 in my class. I was carry optics D, bumped up to C. So now I want to win, my C class, move up into B, and so on and so forth. The nice thing about shooting that I've seen is it's really such a family style community, and it's a sport where you don't see often, where you've got people that are junior shooters. And I mean, we're talking 10 years old, 11 years old, all the way up to people that are in their 70s plus. You've got men, you've got women, you've got people of every body shape and size and every ethnicity. And the great thing is we all squad together. We all shoot together. And it's a sport where it almost doesn't make a difference if you're male or female, old or young. You can be competitive at any age, at any level. with any kind of a background. And that's what I really like about the sport as well, is you don't feel like you're closed off. You can compete. I get beat. I have a lady that I shoot with all the time, and she's older than me, and I got to fight hard to beat her. And it's great because it's a friendly rival. And that's the other thing I like about the sport is, we all want to win, but at the same time, everybody is just so helpful and friendly to each other.
Yeah, that's the camaraderie, I think, is one of the biggest parts that brings more people to the shooting sport. I should say keeps people with the shooting sports. It's kind of, and it's a little different places in the country, but for the most part, we all have similar ideas on how the world should run, and we all have that in common, at least if not other things. So, one of the things that I've always liked about it is, especially USPSA and IDPA, the same thing. You have a classification system, so you can kind of square off with your friends, not only here, but like if you have some friends in New Mexico, hey, this is what they're doing. We can see what their scores were. And even though you can't compare the whole match to each other, you can say, well, they shot this classifier and I did this or whatever. And that was the one of the biggest things that kept me into competitive shooting, was not just having a few friends here. Because in all honesty, I didn't have any friends within 2 hours of me that shot, that shot guns anyway competitively. I mean, yeah, we all think about go out and play on the weekend, but it was 2 or 3 hours away. So a lot of the people that I would meet and hang out with, it just seemed really strange because we all lived hours apart.
Sure.
But I've actually I run a steel challenge match also, and I've had 3 generations on the same squad.
That's awesome.
And it's really cool to see, Grandpa come out there and his son picking on him, and then realizing that the grandson's beating both of them. Because kids have no fear. That's the greatest part about kids.
Oh, yeah.
So what if I miss 15 times his dad's ammo?
Yeah, right. No, I'm with you. I see that all the time out here as well. I see there's a guy that I shoot with USPSA a lot, and he's about my age, and his dad shoots with him all the time. And his dad's actually a GM on Steel Challenge.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing just how tight of a family community shooting is out here. I've seen, again, there's another gentleman that I'm friends with, and he and his son shoot USPSA matches all the time. They shot Area 2, and I just don't know another sport that is so all-inclusive the way this one is, that it's just once you're in, you don't ever want to leave because it feels like a family. It really feels like a family.
So what are you shooting any major matches, or do you mostly do locals? Or
I shoot as often as I can. And again, I'm lucky living in Arizona. We've got some great ranges here. We can shoot year round. So I would say I shoot on average 2 to 3 matches a week, local matches. But then I try to shoot as many majors as I can. As I'd already mentioned, I shot the Arizona State IDPA Championship, happened a few weeks back. I've got New Mexico State IDPA Championship coming up again. I'm going to shoot IDPA Nationals later this year. I'm going to shoot Area 2 again. And that's just what I've got booked right now. I'm still looking and see what else is out there. And like you said, that's another nice thing too, is between me going to other states and people coming in, I now have friends in New Mexico, California, Texas, you name it, Colorado. It's great. It's just fantastic.
IDPA will be in Cameo again this year, right? The Nationals?
Yeah.
IDPA will be at the Cameo Shooting Center
in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they were there last year too, I believe.
I believe so. Yeah. I didn't shoot in last year's, but some of my friends did, and I watched some of the stages, and it looked awesome. It just looked amazing.
I've heard a lot of really good things about their nationals the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And again, that's the nice thing about the two different sports is IDPA, especially the major matches, some of the stages they set up are just incredible. I mean, you don't see these stages on USPSA, at least the way we run them, and then on USPSA during the majors, like Area 2, I'm seeing stage setups that are just incredible. And I mean, it really takes, you got to really plan out the stages right. And then I'm meeting people that I follow, Christian Tyler, people like that, the Williams sisters. I get to meet all these people and just see them actually shoot in person. And boy, with them, I just try to soak up every little bit of anything I see that I think I can use.
And it's crazy how much some of us, or a lot of us, travel in the shooting sport, because I just got back from multi-gun nationals, and Justine and Jaleese were there. They're from Idaho.
Yep.
Josh Wazelchek, who's also, I think, from Arizona, he was there. There was a guy there from Maine. I kind of look at the license plates on cars and stuff as they go by, and I'm like, wow, it's amazing that you'll see actually license plates from like Maine and Minnesota, Missouri. Now the Williams sisters, they flew in, and a few other people flew in, of course, but I know the Micklicks drove in. So,
yeah, actually, you're right. I saw Lena had posted about that, about like 10 hours down with 10 more to go or something like that.
Yeah. Have you seen the pictures of her truck?
No, I haven't.
I'm a hillbilly boy, so I like truck. I mean, I have fast cars, but I like trucks too. It took me 2 days to figure out who the heck had that awesome truck, and then I found out it was Lena. So it's a Toyota Tacoma quad cab long bed.
Oh, wow.
And I've seen now one of those in real life.
Wow.
And of course, it's got a small lift on it, and it's got one of the like overland toppers on it.
Sure.
And if she doesn't have one on her Instagram, and if she watches this, which I doubt she will, but you can message her and tell her Moneypenny said to post a picture of her truck. So it's a pretty awesome rig.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was a long haul for them, but hey, when you start flying with 3 guns, plus backups, plus ammo,
yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a big undertaking when you start flying with 3.
It is.
So do you have any sponsors, and can you tell us about them?
Sure. Yeah, I do. I've got about 5 sponsors. My main sponsor, Alpha Dog Firearms Gun Shop. Those guys, they're fantastic. They're local again to the Valley. Summit City Bullets is another sponsor of mine. Again, they make everything for 9, for 40, 45 coated bullets, pretty much whatever weight you want. True Blue Gun Lube. Those guys are great. Their oil and lube is amazing. I don't know if you know much about them, but I guess they started off, their parent company was in racing. So, I mean, if you're making oil and lube that's going to go in race cars, you probably know what you're doing when it comes to that stuff. And I can tell you their oil is, the nice thing is, even though I'm in Arizona, in the wintertime, when you're shooting a match at 8 o'clock in the morning, it can be cold. And we have no humidity, so it's cold. And then, of course, in the summer, we've got this crazy heat. The nice thing about their oil is it doesn't change viscosity. So if you're shooting in cold, it doesn't thicken up. And if you're shooting in the heat, it's not running all over the place. It's the best oil I found, and I really love it. And their cleaner, same thing. It's biodegradable, water soluble, and you leave it in your barrel a little longer than maybe some of the other stuff, but the end result is, I will guarantee you, it gets every bit of carbon and everything else you got built up in there. So they're really good. I like them. I'm a brand ambassador for HD or Hunter's HD Gold. Again, same thing. They're great. My glasses, my vision's not the greatest. And I was trying to find some shooting glasses that I really liked. And once I came across these guys and got my prescription in it, it was like a whole new world opened up. I mean, it was literally, I mean, I see why they say HD, because it was literally like I'm looking in high definition. My targets were popping, my dot was popping. I really think it helped my shooting, those glasses, to be quite honest. It was
the first time I ever grabbed one of those. I'm one of those guys, I don't like to change anything the day that I'm shooting. And a good friend of mine, Bob King, that has Red Hill Tactical, he kept harassing me. He said, just try a set on. I'm like, okay, I'll go to the safe area, I'll look through them or whatever. So I put them on, and of course, Brian said, here, just take them for the match, shoot them, bring them back to me, let them know how they go.
Sure.
This is like a drug dealer. The first hit's free, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I go over to the safe area. I'm like, I'll look at them at the safe area, but I'm going to keep these like Smith & Wessons that I have from Walmart because they're my friends and I've used them before. And I go out and I put the dot up, and I'm like, I'm using like orangish glasses anyway, and I no longer look at the dot and see it inside of the little window. I mean, obviously it's in the window, but it's like it brought clearness and definition to that dot. And I looked at it, and I'm like, well, it is kind of overcast today. So I'm like, yeah, I'll try them. But I'm keeping these with me just in case.
Sure.
Just in case. And so I went out and shot them, and I didn't really notice it, but as the day progressed, it got, brighter and brighter and brighter. And I'm starting to get sunburn. And the transitions lenses just transitioned, but they didn't lose, because I used to wear prescriptions.
Yeah.
So my glasses, whenever they did transition to darker with my prescription lenses, they would always make it harder for me to see things. And that didn't happen with the Hunter's HD Golds. They just seamlessly transitioned, and the dot still stood out, even though everything else was bright.
I'm telling you, same thing. I mean, and like I said, Arizona, you want to talk about bright sun, boy, we have it. And the same thing. I mean, I can wear their glasses to where the sun is just coming up, or to where it's just setting, or to where it's high noon. And I don't notice a difference in when I look at my targets or my dots, because it just transitions in and out so well. And like you're saying, it is like crack, because between the glasses and then Brian and Chris being so great over there, and you try them out. If you don't like them, you can send them back, have them fixed. Do whatever you need. They'll work with you. I mean, I've got my second pair on the way. They're just great glasses.
Yeah, I made the mistake of trying on a set of the Matrix at Multi-Gun Nationals. I need to stay away from Brian. Bad influence. I did try to set up on the Ruby, and they did kind of help the dot. And if you go to one of the matches, ask him for his little board of red dots, because he's got like a whole bunch of red dots mounted to a board now. And you can put on the rubies, and you can kind of see what your dots are going to look like through all of them.
Yeah.
So he's definitely got the sales pitch down, to be able to look at and see it without having to go to the safe area and take out your gun and do all that stuff. But if you want to do that, he'll let you do that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love Brian. So anybody else?
There's a local gunsmith here, Valley Forge Weaponry. And I was going to him before always to work with my guns and stuff. And that one was just dumb luck. I was chatting to him. We were talking about my matches and the different sponsors, and he didn't know exactly what sponsorship meant or whatever. And he says, "Well, I don't know if I could do." I says, "I'm not looking for money. I just if I can bring my guns to you on things that I can't fix or install or whatever, and if you're willing to do it, then that's good for me, and I'll be happy to work with you." And so that's the great relationship I have worked out with them. And the nice thing with those guys too is they're veteran owned, and they try to hire only veterans. So that's very nice. And they're just great. I mean, anytime I've come to them with any issues, problems, changes I've needed in my guns, they'll work with me. They'll get them however I want them. It's fantastic.
That's great. I think the biggest, I tell people, everybody wants to be sponsored, and I'm like, you end up doing more work for your sponsors a lot of times than what they do for you. But that's how it's supposed to work.
Sure.
And the cool thing about it is like, in our shooting sports, our sponsored shooters aren't really like you would call a shill or a salesman of type. They're just, the easiest way to sell something is to get something in someone else's hands.
Right.
And that is pretty much all you have to do in most cases. The ability to build those relationships with business owners, and in most of these cases, small business owners that are people that you know and get along with anyway, it surmounts any amount of money you could get from some national level brand that's just going to throw you, hey, here's a couple holsters, here's a few bucks and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So a couple of weird questions, and yeah, these are kind of just popped out there.
Sure.
Is there anything that you'd like to see changed in any of the shooting sports?
Anything changed? Besides
the magwell.
Yeah. I would have said a few other things, but IDP already changed them. You know, the
Yeah.
in the waistband, the able to drop mags with one in the chamber, and then the drop or offset mag. I'm sorry, holster. That was my big things in IDPA, so I'm good with that. USPSA, again, besides the magwell, I'm pretty happy with everything. I love shooting it. I love shooting both sports, all three sports actually.
Awesome. And of course, this is a shameless question and plug. Anything you'd like to see out of the future USPSA president, whoever they may be?
You know, honestly, there is something that I would like to see. And again, I'm looking at it just from the world that we're in now, and then just myself. I mean, like I said, hunting since I was a kid, but actual pistol sports was newer to me. I think a president who can really think outside of the box, who can help bring a lot more of today's technology and the way people view things, see things, learn things. You know, of course, I read the USPSA magazine, but like what we're doing here, you know, podcasts, anything that can do with the digital age is going to bring in new shooters, new people to try the sport, and I think that's going to do nothing but help the sport and grow. So, and that's what we need. You know, you don't want to ever stagnate.
And that's one of the things. See, I have a few. Like I said, I have a small gun shop. It's kind of a word of mouth type thing. It's a very part-time gig. I do some gunsmithing. I'm a gray gun certified smith. I should say armor. I don't have all the tools I want to be a true gunsmith. I don't heat treat. I don't machine much. I have a machinist that I work with. But so I usually call myself an armorer or a monkey with a hammer or something like that, because I consider a gunsmith somebody that can make their own springs. You know, that level of metallurgy and all that.
Sure.
And I just don't feel that I'm there. It takes me some trial and error to get there. But I see a lot of them like, oh, I don't think I could do anything like that. And I mean this in a positive manner to everybody that I've interviewed. I want regular guys, regular gals. You know, everybody can watch Nils Jonathan shoot and just stand there and go, oh, wow, I can't do that. I mean, I can't do that. And I've been doing this for 20 years. But I can go out to the range and I can put bullets on targets and have fun.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, you know, you're coming in, you're starting to see some growth. A lot of people come in and they see a little bit of growth, they stagnate, they see a little bit more growth. Some people shoot all the way to the top because they're awesomely talented, or they are just absolutely OCD and insane with working on stuff like I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But it's something for everybody, and I want everybody to know that. I do have quite a few little marketing ideas that, you know, I just want to just get it out there and let everybody show that this is something. This is something that we can do and that you can do with pretty much what you already have. I won my first IDPA stock service pistol with a Glock 32 and 357 SIG. I won High Marksman.
There you go.
It was cool because I got to shoot through a car door and everybody else's bullets got stopped. But I was also shooting Spear Lawman ammo, which was the practice ammo. It was still $32 a box in like 2004 or 2002.
Wow.
So it was an expensive day for me. Shortly went to 9mm very shortly after that. After I realized I'm actually going to be doing this some, so I probably should get something cheaper.
I did the same thing when I first started. That's what I was using. I was using my G23 Gen 4. You know, so everybody else is shooting 9, or even at my indoor range, they were letting you shoot 22s if you wanted to. But here I am shooting 40 in competition, and it was like, boy, I got to look at something maybe that's kind of a little not quite as expensive, you know, and yeah.
I remember I met Ken Hackathorn at that match, and he looked at me. That was awful loud. What are you shooting? I'm like 357 SIG. He's like, just looks at me. Damn, and just goes on. So it's one of those things. That's the other thing I love about it. You know, it's not like NASCAR. It's like I can't go drive with Tony Stewart. or any of these guys that are out there now. I can't go play golf with Tiger Woods.
Right.
But
you can shoot with Jerry Michalek. You can shoot
Yeah.
with Nils Jonasson. You can shoot with Kristen Seiler. All these guys, Rob Latham. Again,
Yep.
I'm lucky. Rob Latham, Nils Jonasson, they're here. They're in my area, and they shoot at my matches all the time. And so for me, just watching them shoot, like I said, to me, I just look at it as, even though I'm in the match too, I try to watch everything they do to just pick up from the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any sponsor codes you want to hand out? Anything else you'd like to throw in there? Or?
Yeah, no, I definitely have some sponsor codes for this. I'm going to have to look at my notes because I just want to make sure that
absolutely.
That I get it right. But yeah, so again, my main sponsor, Alpha Dog Firearms Gun Store, they give military and first responder discounts. It's not a set percentage; it just varies by what your purchase is. So coupon code for that is just veteran when you go to checkout. Summit City Bullets. Again, they're always giving discounts for military and first responders. For anyone else, coupon code on checkout is going to be Summit 12%. And again, they carry 9, they carry 40, 45 coated bullets, all different weights. So, check them out. They're great bullets. And then my last one I've got is True Blue Gun Lube. And these guys, again, even if you like what you have, you should really try their product. It's great. For them, you want to go to shop.mylifeatspeed.com, and then you enter in my name, Scott Rowe, no spaces, all lower, and you'll get a 15% discount on their products. And they have oil, lube, and grease. I've not used their grease, but I swear by their oil. I actually have, and they've got a nice one. They call it their Bullet, and it's got a needle tip applicator, and it's perfect. I'm sure you, like all the rest of us, you've got your little kits that you carry around in your range bags, but you don't want to have these big giant things that you have to carry. So they've got these little ones they call their Bullet vials, and it's just great. I keep that with me at all times, and you'd be amazed how many times I've seen guys that had issues because in the cold time their gun's just not functioning properly because oil tightens up, and I say, hey, try this, give this a try, and I've yet to have anybody who doesn't like it.
That's awesome. So is there anything else you'd like to say in closing, or anything you'd like to add? Free podium time here.
No, I think that's about it. What I would say is, anybody who's maybe watching this, who's looking to get into shooting, or who's been shooting at their local range and they want to try competition, we're all the same. I was intimidated at first. You didn't know what to expect, but I can tell you the shooting community is so welcoming to new shooters. At my ranges, we see it all the time. New people come in, and any squad you get on, doesn't matter, who you are, how old, what, nothing. We'll help you. We'll take you under our wings. We'll teach you the right way. And it's just a great sport. The camaraderie is just amazing. I have seen at matches where people have had, a spring breaks, or this or that. And everybody comes together and, hey, you need some tools. Here you go. You need a spare spring. Here you go. You need a battery for your dot. Here you go. We all want to win, but at the same time, we all want to beat the other person at their best, not because of an equipment failure or something like that. So I just don't know another sport like that where it's an individual sport, but everybody helps everybody. And it's just such a welcoming sport. It really is.
I'll say if you're looking for a place to shoot, go to uspsa.org, Steel Challenge, scsa.org, which is Steel Challenge Shooting Association, or idpa.com. All of them have a link up there that say find a club. Just find a local club. Show up with eye protection and ear protection if you just want to watch the first time. That way you'll know exactly what you want to bring. Or if you want to compete, just give the match director a call. They all have the match director's phone number. That's what that guy's there for.
Yeah.
He's there to direct the match, but he's there to help new shooters, and they will find someone to partner with you, so that say, hey, go through here, do it this way, don't do it that way. They keep the safety things. Just show up with your gun unloaded, and you're good to go. Steel Challenge, I always tell people, is the easiest thing. It's like playing T-ball with guns. And they're like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm like, you don't have to run. You don't have to worry about a lot of the safety rules, because the finger out of the trigger only applies to when you're drawing or you're raising up the 22, because the rest of the time you're shooting. So you don't got to take your finger out. You don't have to reload.
Right.
You don't got to run. You don't got to move. And it gets you used to that timer and being a little bit sort of a self-induced stressed environment.
Sure.
So
one thing I will
get out there and do it.
One thing I will add too, if you're a new shooter and you're just coming out to watch, realize that almost every range out there are cold ranges. So what that means is if you are new to competitive shooting, but you have an EDC, you might want to consider locking it up in your glove box, or a gun, strong box or something like that, because you're not allowed to have, they're all cold ranges. So don't show up with your EDC.
All unloaded guns, yeah.
Correct.
And I tell people that, and I even put up signs on that because on match day, because my shooting range is a 700-acre farm. So most of the time, I'm like, if it's not match day, I expect you to have a loaded gun on you because you might want it. We don't have a lot of times that you might really want it, but every once in a while there'll be a copperhead or a coyote that decides to chase a deer down across the field in front of you. You may want your firearm.
Sure.
And I also teach, concealed carry and, preach what you teach, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And do what you do. So the rest of the time, I expect everybody to have a loaded gun on them. On match day, I put up these big signs: unload your gun before you come to the range. So yeah, definitely. Cold range means no loaded firearms, and that's mostly for our safety rules for our insurance and stuff like that. That way, when you go to the safe area where there's no ammunition allowed, obviously there's no ammunition allowed, so you don't have ammunition there, and just have fun. There'll be more people that want to tell you more stories and ask you what you're doing and all that stuff. Just walk up, smile, and say, "Hey, I want to try this," or "I'm interested in this." We actually have one guy that showed up to one of our 3-gun matches, and you could tell, he was comfortable with his 2 friends that were there, because they're giving each other crap about how they shoot. And I'm like, "So, do you have a gun?" So, "Yeah, I have my Glock 19. I'm like, "By any chance is that the lump on your side, and hopefully it's unloaded?" He's like, "Yeah, it's unloaded. I read the rules." I'm like, "Cool. Do you have a rifle and a shotgun?" "No. Does anybody have a rifle and a shotgun Chris can borrow?" And I signed him up for the match right there. And I'm like, it's obvious that you guys have been shooting a lot, and these guys are like 3 matches in. You might as well come on up and have some fun.
Sure.
And he looked at me, he's like, "Well, I only have 1 magazine." And I'm like, "I think we can accommodate that."
Yeah, for a block, I'm pretty sure we'll find some extra.
Oh, yeah. So he shot the match, and that was it for him. He was hooked.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I just showed up to watch." I'm like, "Oh, I showed up in the wrong squad to watch."
Right.
But it wasn't something that was going to, you can tell if people are fairly confident with stuff that, here, jump off this ledge, not not push them off and say, and then oh no, it was too far.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a camaraderie that we all have in the shooting sports, which is what I love to see. But I will definitely, we'll have to talk a little bit sometime about lube,
sure,
and greasing and stuff like that, because I'm a big proponent of the grease.
Sure.
So anybody else to thank or look at or do anything?
I honestly, I think that's about it. Like I said, it goes without saying that the reason why that I'm even at the level that I'm at is because I made some really good friends who have been shooting a lot longer than I have. And that's what they've done. They have literally taken me under their wing, and they have helped me out tremendously. So, I do have people here that the level of shooter I am now, I owe to them. Yes, I pay attention and I did what they're asking, what they're telling, but a lot of this stuff, could I get to where I'm at now? Oh, I'm sure I could. Would it take twice as long or 3 times as long? More than likely, yes. And again, that's the other nice thing. So even if you are, starting to dabble in this, just find some people that you really, click with, and just work with them and watch what they do, take their advice, and most importantly, realize that constructive criticism is not a knock on you. It's basically telling you, don't do this, or you did this, now try doing it this way. It's just to help you be a better shooter.
Absolutely. Well, I'd definitely like to thank you for coming on. If anybody has any questions, how can they contact you?
Well, they can reach me either on Facebook. Scott Rowe 1968 is my Facebook. Same with my Instagram. Or they can reach me on email, which is scottrowe1968@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And until the next time we talk, get out there to the range and shoot something.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me, Steve.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.